Welcome to the You Can Man podcast, episode 39. I'm Josh.
I'm Tim.
And I'm Dave.
And on this week's episode, You Can Man goes to Yollywood.
All right, guys, welcome back to the You Can Man podcast, where we believe what one man can do, you can do as well. This week's show title, Welcome to Yollywood. What in the world is that? Well, that is the term that we have in Georgia come up with for our version of Hollywood, because more stuff is filmed here than in LA currently.
Is that true? More?
Yes.
In Georgia? Wow.
Equal to or more, I would say. And the film industry, we have all these tax credits here in Georgia. Anyways, we're going to get into that because we have a guest,
a special
on the show
guest
with us today. My longtime friend, Brandon Funk. Brandon, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me on.
Is that last name made up?
No, I was born with it.
Dang.
No, I didn't change it. I had no choice in the
How
matter.
far back does funk go? Do you know?
I know that it's German.
Okay.
From Funkhauser.
Okay. I believe it.
But that's about all I know about
All
it.
right.
I wish I had a cool last name. It's way cooler.
Yeah, so Brandon has worked in the film industry in the Atlanta area for probably 10 years at this point, building sets for commercials mostly. And so we're going to get into all of that. But first, when this show drops, it's going to be the day before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So guys, I got one question. What is your favorite Thanksgiving food?
I hate Thanksgiving food.
Oh, my gosh.
I know.
What's wrong with you, Dave?
It's a sin. I just I don't know, man. Here's my thing about Thanksgiving. If the food were that good, we would eat it all year round, but we don't because it's not that good.
I would eat it.
It's
probably.
one of the few. It's one of the few things that Americans actually can control themselves on only enjoying it one time a year.
Because it's not as good as all the other food.
Delicious and amazing.
No.
And Dave, and I can't take Dave's word for it. And look, Dave's always been a nice, lean gentleman. He doesn't enjoy food like I do. Like, I have emotional tie-ins with food, which, yes,
Dave,
probably
you
unhealthy.
couldn't eat like smoked turkey once a week?
I used to eat like a turkey sandwich every day, so maybe that did it. I will say, as I've gotten older, I appreciate Thanksgiving food more. I also have a weird thing about like food that is moved from house to house that isn't like prepackaged. You know what I'm saying? I have like a thing about it. I'm like,
like potluck?
That food's, that's my worst nightmare. I'm like, that food's contaminated. I can't eat that.
Come on.
You're a weird dude.
You are weird. Brandon, what about you?
I think I used to enjoy it a lot more. The older I'm getting, the more I'm like, oh, cool.
The whole, like the event or the food?
Just the food. I mean, the event's cool. Like all the family gets together, now we have a bunch of little children running around because everybody in the family's starting to have kids. But it's the food. I'm falling less and less in love with it because there's nothing enjoyable about green bean casserole.
Yeah. What? Like green bean casserole and dressing? Nobody wants that stuff.
I was going to say dressing is actually my favorite.
No,
I love green
bread.
I think it's all in your head, man.
Green bean casserole is amazing.
It's really not.
No, because it's like, imagine like you coat noodles in mayonnaise and then put some like crunchy onions on top. It's disgusting.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm glad Funk and I are sitting on the same side of this circular table because we're on the same page.
What about deviled eggs?
No.
All in.
I don't.
What?
Gosh.
That's not a Thanksgiving specific food.
It kind of is. It shows up.
I know.
It shows up at every Thanksgiving.
But it's at Thanksgiving. It just is. But important question though: sweet pickles or dill pickles? Because if you say sweet pickles, we're gonna have words.
Dill pickles.
They both have their place for me.
No, they don't.
Yes.
Sweet pickles should be banned.
Yeah, I think all of them belong in the garbage. All pickles.
We have got some insane opinions around this table.
Yeah,
Not mine,
honestly, I could
else's.
probably eat like one Thanksgiving meal a week, and I would be happy with that.
No thanks.
All right, so
I love the holiday, hate the food.
Before we tie up the food portion, I'm actually cooking for the first time in my life.
Really?
I'm in charge of the turkey.
Yikes.
Okay.
I'm deep frying it.
Yeah.
That's a man's responsibility.
I've done some research.
Yeah, you fill it up all the way with oil before you put
yes.
it in, right?
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
you
to the
freeze it.
brim.
Open flame.
To the brim.
To the
and then
brim,
like a
make
really,
sure it's frozen.
Yes.
yeah.
And that
Got
way
it.
you can get a nice insurance
Yeah.
check.
And well, I'm doing it in my garage. So it'll be good.
Perfect.
And that'll be the easiest way to clean it out.
So, but no, I've done some research and put together my own formula that I'm going to do. So I'll let you know when we have our next podcast how that went.
Okay.
So definitely frying it.
Deep frying it for sure.
Nice.
Okay, and
Right.
before we started recording tonight, Brandon was talking about this special whiskey that he's got. Yes?
He's trying to
Yes.
sell it.
Wait,
Yeah.
no. Bourbon?
It's technically a rye. It's a rye whiskey.
Okay.
So I have a bottle of Pappy Van Winkle. I think it's
Whoa.
Special Reserve Rye.
It's hard to get, isn't it?
I've heard rich people talk about that.
Yeah, I saw it on TV once, like in a movie. It was an arty movie. No,
But you're in possession of this.
yeah.
And you said you're trying to sell it.
yeah, I've had it for a couple of years. Rye's not my favorite, and so I figure if somebody's going to drink that nice of a bottle of whiskey, they should probably enjoy.
How did you
the type
buy
of
it?
whiskey.
Like, how'd you come into
So-
possession?
So I'm on a list in a lot of liquor stores around Atlanta, which is like
A good list or a
Okay.
bad list?
I would say.
Hi, my name is Brandon.
Yes, exactly. Which when I say it out loud, I'm
your
like, no,
bounce,
that
your
sounds
bounce
horrible.
checks are up on the wall.
Right, exactly. I got a picture up. Yeah. So I'm on a list, and basically, I don't know how it is now because I haven't gotten on a list in a while because I kind of lost interest in collecting whiskeys.
All right.
But you're grandfathered in because your name's on these lists.
Right, exactly. So I'm on the list, and it's like roll call. They call you up and they say, "Hey, I see that you wrote your name on this list 3 years ago.
Wow.
Your name's come up in the
Crazy.
draw. So would you have an opportunity to buy this only option of Pappy?"
Okay.
So that's when I bought it from right down the street from where we're recording at
Nice.
UCAN Man headquarters. But yeah, it's
Okay, so you guys are listening. If you're on the Facebook group, just chime in on there and be like, hey, I want to buy that from
right.
Brandon.
Also, I can't sell you the actual whiskey, but I can sell you the commemorative bottle with impotable liquid inside of it.
Okay, yes,
Makes sense.
exactly.
Makes total sense. I know a guy who did this, and he had his name on a list, or I guess it was, I don't know exactly how they did it, but
Raffle
he shows
system.
up, and it was a raffle. It was like names in a hat. They put a bottle on the counter. They pull a name out of the hat, and if it's your name and you want it, then you can buy it. If you don't want it, your name goes back in the hat, and they pull out another name. So people are doing it all over the place.
Okay.
Pappy.
Yeah.
Get
Pappy
you some.
Rye.
All right. I am not educated in the slightest about
Yeah.
any of that, so I'm
have-
sure it's great.
I have my
but
one whiskey bourbon that I drink, and
Is that
It's
old,
not.
that's
And
it.
it's
That's all
only
I know.
Pappy.
old granddad, right?
I
Yeah,
can't
no.
see myself ever getting into it. I'm just too cheap. I just don't know.
See, I got some secrets.
Yeah.
Yeah, Corner Creek, $20.
Old Crow bottom
Old
shelf.
Crow bottom shelf
Go
plastic
for it.
bottle.
Okay. I'm down for that.
well,
That's some Tim whiskey right
I've
there.
moved over to Bullet. I was a hardcore Jack Daniels forever, and then I had Bullet, and then I was like, oh, this is my new whiskey,
Oh, that's a great one.
and it's not that expensive.
No, it's not. Corner Creek comes in a wine bottle. It's kind of like
That's classy whiskey.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, it's kind of like I don't know about that one, and but it's actually really good,
Huh?
and it's like
I'll try it.
pretty cheap.
I'll try it
Okay. Hey, maybe I don't know.
one day.
Maybe I'll
one
get
day
into
you
it.
could get into.
All right. Okay, let's get into talking to Brandon here. So, Brandon, we usually try to ask all of our guests, where are you on the DIY scale right now?
Scale of 1 to 10,
10.
1 being completely, I don't ever do anything DIY, 10 being Dave. Where do you fall in between that?
Well, in the past couple of weeks, I've kind of said this phrase over and over again, and I have this abnormal blind confidence when it comes to what I do for a living. So I'm going to go ahead and say I'm a 10 out of 10.
Wow.
Really?
No, I think I'm an 8 out of 10.
Whoa, an 8.
I would say that.
Yeah.
Solid.
You think he's an 8?
Look, when I needed a track saw, I called Brandon. And he had one.
That's a power tool.
All right. All
Not
right.
a power tool. A power tool.
Yeah, one that makes Tim Taylor go,
Yeah.
I'm not going to do
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Dang, we all know
It's
what you mean.
trademarked.
That
Anyway.
is trademark.
All right. I think that
Okay.
might be the highest rated
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
for sure.
Yeah.
Self-rating, obviously.
Self-rating,
But
of
whatever.
course.
But
yeah, I'm gonna
did we ask the Keystone Carpenter? We didn't ask.
But that's a pro, and he doesn't really.
I mean,
that doesn't apply.
If he answered that, he'd be like, "Well, come on, guys."
Yeah.
You know.
But
It's all a
it
shame.
encompasses everything, like in your general life, like car stuff.
Yeah.
Confidence level,
Yeah.
skills, put all that together. 8 out
Yeah.
of 10. It's a solid number.
Well, hey, man,
yeah.
I heard you roll up in that truck, and I heard some squeaky brakes. So
Yeah.
I wasn't confident in your. I was
yes.
like, he's going to be like a 2.
What is this dude doing? No, see, there's the knowing that I can do it and have done it in the past, and then there's
Hey,
also
I'm right there with you.
there's also the fact that I'm like on day 11 in a row for work,
Yep.
and I'm a little
I don't
tired.
have time to do it.
Yeah.
I remember us talking. You had a Explorer about the same year as mine. Was it a '98?
It was a 97.
Okay, basically
But same
car. So I'll actually, probably like 3 times a year, I'll text Brandon a picture. It's got this temperature readout thing that's like would have been just like sweet back in 1998.
Oh man, this thing's.
But if it's too cold, it'll just flash up ice. So I'll take a picture of that and send it to him. But he used to have a 97 Explorer. You did a ton of work to that.
I did. I did alternator that took me a half an hour to get from AutoZone to my house. It was a mile away because I kept having to make right turns because if I stopped, it would turn off. And then I'd have to ask somebody in the intersection to jump me.
Yeah.
But alternator, water pump twice, thermostat, radiator.
I've
brakes.
done all of these. Actually, I haven't done the alternator on that thing yet, but I'm just about to.
I
But
did the alternator about a year ago on my way to work one day.
okay,
Good old
nice.
Explorers. There's
Yeah.
3 Explorer owners around this table.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm out of the
love
loop.
Explorer.
Oh, I don't have it anymore.
Yeah,
Former-
I don't have one.
former
either.
owner.
That was my
Okay.
very first car.
That was my first car. Well,
Okay, so let's talk about let's talk a little bit about your background, just growing up. I know that your dad is very into DIY stuff. He's like super into like a lot of like hot rod stuff and everything.
Oh, yeah.
He's got this like old man group that he meets with, and it's awesome.
it's hilarious.
And so I know that he's done a whole lot of work. I love your dad; he's awesome. And so talk to us about growing up doing DIY stuff and how that transitioned into your actual career.
Yeah. So my dad, growing up, he would one thing about him, he never bought a new lawnmower. He would always find them on the side of the road and then just fix them.
Nice.
And
Yes.
so I don't think he would ever identify as a hippie, but it's like a super hippie move to be like, I'm going to recycle this. So I've carried on that tradition. He will just bring me a lawnmower and we'll figure it out. It's usually just the spark plug, but
Yeah, that's
it's
exactly
a free
what
mower.
Dave does, actually.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
collect lawnmowers. They die, and then I don't want to fix them, so I just buy a new one. So I've got lawnmowers for you, man. If you
My
run
dad-
out, I have a supply.
First time in my life, my dad bought a brand new mower this year.
Oh, he's like, when I
Living
retire,
large.
when
Yeah.
I retire, it's the one thing I'm going to get is a
earned it.
new lawnmower.
Oh yeah, dude. So I grew up kind of with that. He was flipping cars. Lincoln Mark 7 in the early 90s had airbag suspension. So they were selling for dirt cheap. He would just replace the springs. He would replace the airbags with springs and triple his money on them.
Wow.
Nice.
He's a smart dude. Grew up with hot rods in the house, and then he drove a Cutlass for a while, like a 70s.
Ooh, Cutlass, what year?
You know what?
I had a Cutlass.
I was probably 10, so it didn't matter to me at that time.
Okay.
It was just cool.
What
And
color was
it?
It was green with a black vinyl top.
Nice. I had a yellow one with a black vinyl top.
It's pretty sweet.
Yeah.
I want to talk about one story with your dad that you told me.
Uh-huh.
And this is really only for our local Atlanta listeners that will know what this is. However, it does have some national recognition, and I'll tell you why in a minute. That
Also-
ties in to the film industry.
That's right. I know where you're going with this.
Okay. So Brandon told me that his dad, we used to drive through some people's lawns back in the day.
Trenching.
Some
We
people
were
call it trenching.
really, really, really horrible,
terrible
people,
kids.
horrible people. Josh did it the most, but
I'm ashamed.
Okay.
It's
Shots
the
fired.
worst thing.
anyways,
the
but
worst.
Brandon told me that his dad drove through in what we refer to as trenched. So it's basically you go in somebody's yard and you just spin
Floor
the
it.
tires.
Floor it or pull
It's-
the e-brake.
Look, guys, we're not sugarcoating this. We were really horrible.
Yeah.
Anyways, his dad did this at the Swan House Okay. Now, for you Atlanta listeners, you know what I'm talking about, the Atlanta History Center and all this stuff. And this is just like gorgeous old home. But at the time, I guess in the late 70s, maybe something like that.
Oh, you're being so generous. Late 60s.
Okay. Late 60s. His dad trenched the Swan House lawn. But I guess during that time, it wasn't,
I think
like maybe it was
I think
abandoned
the story was,
or almost.
it was empty and like the History Center wasn't there.
Yeah.
And so it was just fair game, I guess.
Yeah.
So does he have like a plaque on the grounds, or
Yeah.
It ties into the film industry.
Yes,
Here's
it
why:
does.
because it was one of the big main scenes of the Hunger Games was the back of the Swan House with that gorgeous terraced lawn. So I don't know if that rings a bell to anybody listening, but if you remember that, that's where it was filmed here in Atlanta. Brandon's dad
totally
just
trenched
tore
it.
through the
Totally tore it
lawn.
up.
had to?
I was there a couple weeks ago. It looks great. They fixed it. So
Nice,
yeah.
nice.
It was asking for it, just sitting there all night.
Okay, well, let's fast forward. And just kind of, I know you were into, you were doing some video work and stuff like that. And that's
Yeah.
probably what I guess
Well, I actually woke up to a phone call from our mutual friend Chase. He woke me up and he's like, "Hey man, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. We're in college." He's like, "Hey man, can you work today? Somebody called out sick." I'm like, "I got a shift at Starbucks." And he's like, "Nah, man, you can make $200 today." I'm like, "I'm in."
Say what?
So
Nice.
$200 to a college freshman's a lot of money, right? So so I go in and we work on a Rooms to Go commercial. Pure cinematic.
You started
history.
at the top.
I started at the top. That's right. And I walk in and he asked me a couple questions. Can you read a tape measure? Most people are lying when they say yes. And I was like, well, yeah, of course. It's like, you just divide things in half until you get to 32 and then it doesn't matter past that. So yeah. Can you use a screw gun? Can you use like a chop saw and like a table saw? I'm like, blind confidence. I'm like, yeah.
Check.
Sure. I've never used a table saw before that. And so we did that commercial and it took a long time to like really make it super consistent. It took probably like 3 years for it to really be, a viable career option. And I took some time off of school and was like, well, I'm making pretty good money. I'm going to keep doing this. And from there, that was, 8 years ago. So
you're building this is building sets.
yeah, building
for these?
sets. So
well, it's really everything from the design process through the building.
So like, the way I try to explain it to people is it's like interior design for the film industry. It's everything in front of the camera that's not a person.
Do you have like a model you go off of, or how does that work?
So it used to be hand drawings, but now it's all in SketchUp or AutoCAD. So I've got my hands in that. But then I've also got, there are people that are way better than that, way better than me at that. And so I let them do that because it's also really tedious to sit in front of a computer for hours and hours and hours and look at the same exact thing for me. I respect the people that can do it. I can't. So, the client gets an agency who gets a production company who gets us. And so there's like this vision and we have to implement it, right? The vision might be, okay, we want Christian Laettner to be laying down in a hammock made out of basketball nets. And we want the hammock frame to look like a basketball goal. So it's like, oh, cool. It'd been nice to know this last week. But, so then it's like, okay, how do we make that happen? And so it's specialty props to building, walls that are basically fake walls. It's like 1/4-inch Luan or 1/4-inch plywood on a skeleton frame. So that hanging doors, replacing if we shoot on location and they don't like the front door, which is all too common, we have to buy a door, trim it, and put it in the frame. So, if you've ever done that, that doors don't like to go in a frame that they weren't made for.
No, they do not.
No. And then
Doors can be the worst.
they're really tough, but especially when it's like, hey, can we get that what's that really heavy wood from Louisiana? It's
Teak?
yeah, Can we get a teak door? Or it's not teak, but
So you will remove the door,
Cypress?
put a new door in just to.
yeah, just to appease the wishes
All right.
of the overlords. It's been a lot of fun. Done some crazy stuff. One time we put a room, to explain it quickly, we put a room inside of a hamster wheel that was 20 feet tall.
Yeah, I was
And
going
then
to
we-
ask you about that.
And then we
one.
flipped it over on camera. So everything that was on the floor is now on the ceiling, and everything that was in the dressers came out of the dressers and spilled out. And, picture frames jumped off the wall and broke. And it was really awesome.
That was the rooms to go ad, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So is it safe to say that probably within the past, I don't know, 5-6 years, something like that, most all of the rooms to go commercials you might have had?
The last couple years that slowed down a lot. I was working a lot primarily with a company called Van Matry Productions. Those are some great guys. They run they do monster projects, and that's where I did a lot of these huge, ridiculous things. I think that I got to the point where I was like, well, I think I need to start moving up, and I need to start working for a bunch of other people just so I can get my feet wet in with different bosses and with different situations and how other people work, because that's really the only way to grow, is to learn how other people do it, so that I'm not just doing it the one way.
Sure.
And you were not in the film union.
I am not currently, but I'm working on my papers.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Now that's
You're
a
going to
big
toe the line?
Okay, now that's a big shift for you.
It is a big
because
shift.
For years, you were like, no, not doing it.
Right. And I think part of that was because I like the cowboy aspect of like, I get to do me and I set my rate, and it's starting to actually become harder to do my job not in the union.
Okay.
What used to never was a question, are you in the union? Now it's like, I can't hire you, you're not in the union. Which, according to, what is it, Right to Work,
Right.
you're not really allowed to ask that question. But it's also, I don't want to push that, because then I'm the guy who is hassling somebody, and it's like, well,
You're the guy making noise.
I'm the guy making noise, so why would you call the guy making noise when
Yeah.
you can call this other guy who's just going to not?
Yeah, this is
be
good.
a
This is
problem.
good stuff to know, just because our listeners, I would assume most all of our listeners are kind of around the Atlanta area. I would
Yeah.
think we've got listeners all over the place, but since the film industry is so huge here, it's good to hear you talk about being in the union or not. Some people that might want to go into that.
Yeah, I think that both are very valid. I don't really have a problem with either side. It's whatever you want to do, man.
But you've been making it.
Yeah,
You've been making it work for
Yeah.
10 years without being in the union
Yeah,
in the
and-
film industry. So it's not, you don't have to do it.
really, you just have to have a strong back, a weak conscience, and a willingness to work 14 hours a day.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that cool? Like listen, all you listeners, if that's you, hit me up.
Yeah. And it can be lucrative.
Oh, it can be very
If you want to
lucrative.
just give your life to it, it can be very lucrative.
Yeah, and I'm starting to find the balance of working too much, because there have been times where I've worked like 30 days, 37 days is my max that I've done straight. That's brutal.
That's rough.
That's
a
really
lot of work.
brutal. That's a lot of work, and a lot of those are like 16-hour days. Like I have worked a 27-hour day.
Wow.
Which
You know
I know
there's
is
only 24 hours.
I know that's I
Just
know.
letting you know.
I know. So, but yeah, I've done some really cool projects. I've been a part of some really awesome stuff.
Yeah, if you could name like the top two.
Well, so one I can't talk about, but you can probably like assume that it's for this product right here. And
He's pointing to his iPhone.
yeah, and it was with the industry's highest paid actor.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was a short film directed by, or I forget who directed that one, but that one was a monstrous job. Like,
So tell us about one you can actually talk about, though.
interesting one. Okay, so that room, where we flipped it over, that was for the intro sequence of an MTV show called, oh my gosh, why am I going to...
Road rules.
Road Rules. No, it's TRL. So that one was an intro for an MTV show. So I've worked on a lot of the Papa John's jobs. So when Peyton Manning was
Yeah.
part of them.
Nice.
So those
Didn't
were...
you do something with Shaq?
Oh, yeah. I've done a lot of the Gold Bond ads.
Nice.
So that dude, he's awesome.
Is it cool?
He's so cool. He's exactly who you want him to be.
Yeah.
I
love
just
Shaq.
just a goofy, he's when he's not on camera, he's just kind of laid way back in this oversized chair that we have to get for him, and he's just messing with
Did
everybody.
he hand you $100 bill?
No, but
'Cause
one time I
that's what
did
he
pick up the
does.
stool that he was sitting in, and this dude loves double bubble gum.
Okay.
And there was a wad of it. I didn't know that he had stuck it.
He just stuck it underneath there.
And I grabbed it and I go, oh,
Power move by
man.
Shaq.
Yeah. So then we had him sign a backboard, and then we
Nice.
stuck the double bubble gum
Awesome.
to the backboard,
Nice.
and then welded it to one of the supports in the shop. So,
Fantastic.
so we had a regulation basketball.
What's the
court.
story? You worked on some TV show. It was like one of these.
Oh no!
You know where I'm going.
I know where you're going with this.
It was the. I don't know.
I'm
what
an
the TV
overeater. or
It's-
something?
Yes.
So is a show called My 1 Ton Family.
Oh,
I think
Right.
it's about families who
Tons
are
of fun.
tons of fun.
Awesome. I'm hooked.
So so my first day on it, they're like, "Hey, I need you to go to the prop shop." I'm like, "Okay, cool." And so I go to the prop shop, and they're like, "All right, you're looking for a horse trough," and I'm like, "Oh no."
Wow.
So I go and I find the horse troughs in this prop shop, and there are many of them.
That's weird.
I think there are like 8 different sizes, and they're like, "All right, we want a circular one," and I'm like, "You want a 6-foot one, or you want an 8-foot one, or you want a 4-foot one?" They're like, let's get the 8-foot. Well, I got the 8-foot, and I couldn't get it in the van because they didn't want to fork up the money for a real car, like a truck. But so I got the 6-foot one, and we drove it down to you know where High Falls is in Jackson, Georgia.
I don't know.
So we drove it down there to film this scene, and they basically got this kid who weighed like 800 pounds to get in the tub.
They had a human eating out of a horse trough?
No,
he
no,
took
they-
a bath.
he bathed in it.
He
Bathed in a horse trough.
But didn't you say it was out on the back?
It was out on the back porch, which was I redid my parents' back porch, and theirs looked better than.
And weren't you saying that y'all were kind of concerned
I
that
did
it
the
might
math,
collapse?
and it was
gosh,
okay,
yeah.
if this thing holds like I looked up on Tractor Supply because that's where it came from, and it was like 700 gallons or something, and I'm like, okay, 700 gallons, 8 pounds a gallon. Let's say they only fill it up halfway. They put this guy in here, and he weighs like 700 pounds, 700-800 pounds. So I call the producer. I'm like, hey, I don't think it's a good idea. I'm gonna put this in an email so
this
that it's
could
like an email
collapse.
train that like I don't know if this
Yeah.
deck can hold that much weight and then put a camera crew on it. Like,
and an 800-pound person.
yeah. And so I was like, I don't think this is a good idea. And they're like, okay, we'll note it.
Wow.
Moved on.
Okay, there you go.
And they did it. They did it. They got
Hey,
him in.
man, that was a good move on your part to note that.
Yeah.
Just in case something horrible would happen.
Well, I mean, I've had stuff happen like
Just
where-
think if somebody had died in that scenario.
who rolled the trough onto the deck? I did.
Yeah.
Who put the plug in the trough?
But
I
just
did.
how crazy would that be? Well, how did he die? Well, he was on the
they would have made
deck
another
with-
show about it. I mean, so
Yeah.
they were probably just banking on it.
Oh man, that's crazy. Any other crazy stories did you have or
Man, I'm on the spot right now.
What'd you do for Tyler Perry?
Oh, that's a
mentioned Tyler Perry.
crazy job. Okay, so it was a Tyler Perry, Oprah Winfrey.
Hello.
The Queen was on set too.
Wow.
Yeah, and I didn't recognize her. I walked right by her. So we built these huge walls, and then we covered them in flowers, real flowers,
Okay.
not fake flowers.
Wow.
We had you know those event tents that come out at weddings or whatever.
Yeah.
And we had a tent full of flowers inside a building because it was July, and we had to keep the flowers cold
Yeah.
enough to stay fresh.
Good
Because
grief.
we
That's
had
tens of thousands of dollars in flowers.
Oh, it was like $20,000 for the flowers, just the flowers.
Yeah.
That's not even the labor of the decorators. And so we built like a literal bed of roses out of like styrofoam, and then we stuck them all in the styrofoam. We built these like they're like punching bags the size of them, but they were 10 feet tall and they were hanging from the rafters. And we covered those with peonies, it was beautiful. Best smelling set I've ever been on.
Nice. Better than the One Ton Family?
Oh, yeah. And also better than a Cracker Barrel. Oh, man, Cracker Barrel. That was a nasty smelling place. But yeah, so, and then there was another whole stage full of other walls and sets. And it was like a maze of flowers. It was gorgeous. The best part about it was it took 3 of us to get it off the truck at the dump. Dude, we took all the flowers and we threw them in a tarp and we couldn't get it off the truck.
Oh my god!
We just kept having to roll it, but we were able to we go to the Cobb County landfill and dump all our sets. So it's super green. Where the film industry, we're super green.
Oh yeah.
So
totally.
we definitely don't dump truckloads of sets.
Never
at the dump.
After using it for one day, you don't ever do that.
Never done that. But
totally.
So they didn't know us very well and at all. And so one time that time we got like 4 dozen roses because they're like these older ladies who work at the window at the dump. And
I was just there 2 weeks ago.
Okay, so one of those ladies, I gave her 2 dozen roses, and every time we went back, she's like,
dude, you're set for life.
"You're the one who got me the roses." I'm like, "Yes, ma'am, I am."
We need to do a show just on going to the dump.
Oh yeah, on location.
Special about that.
On location,
Should
man.
do the remote. That's one of my favorite places. Like I get excited about going to the dump.
Have you guys ever found anything cool at the dump and tried to steal it?
No,
because
so many. Every time I'm like, "Ooh, I need that."
Oh, I need that. I got an Aeron chair and I almost had it in the truck. It was
highly frowned upon, right?
They are weird about it.
They got really weird about it,
Yeah.
and they were like, "Hey, man," I was like, "Hey, I didn't mean to throw this off the truck." I'm like, "Please."
They're like, "Nah, oldest trick in the book."
And he's like, "Nah, man, you can't scavenge in the dump." I'm like, "Well, I'm not scavenging as much as saving, man. This is a $500 chair. I want this chair for my office that I don't have." And he's like, "No, man, you got to throw it back in the dump." And I threw it. I'm like, "This is such a bummer." So I tossed it back in, and then he broke it.
And he just
a lot.
crushed it.
Wow.
Yeah, and then one time I got a sweet guitar out of the dump. This was awesome.
Wow.
There's one of those pink pointy ones. You know what I'm talking about from the 80s?
Yeah.
It's got fins on it.
Oh man,
like a hair metal one or something. Okay.
Awesome.
Gotcha. Well, talk to us about how your experience in the film industry has transitioned into you working on your own house, because you and your wife just bought a house. Well, it's probably been like a year.
It's been almost 2 years.
Almost 2 years. Wow, really? Okay.
Yeah.
Those skills that you gained, how has that transitioned into just doing, DIY stuff around the house?
So before we moved in, I repainted the entire inside of the house. With the wonderful help of Mary Funk, who is my mother. She's a saint. She's really good at cutting in, and we have a lot of windows. So, she was
the worst.
Yeah, and we also have 12-foot ceilings in our living room. So she was up on scaffolding like she was a boss. She's awesome. So we repainted the entire inside, and when we bought the place, it's like a 70s ranch, and you guys all have older homes, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the storage situation's kind of laughable.
Yeah, it's non-existent.
Right? So the house, the laundry room was in the kitchen where the pantry should have been. And so it was, bifold doors that slide open. And so on the other side of that wall was the entry closet kind of situation. And so I just took out a wall and moved the laundry to the other side of the wall. And so I did that. I ran a water line to the fridge so that I could actually use the ice maker. And then
You feel like you were pretty confident doing that sort of stuff, or you were still kind of...
I'm really good at Googling. Like,
Yeah.
one time they were like, "Hey," on a set, they were like, "Hey, can you get us a saguaro cactus?" And I'm like, "Okay, cool, yeah." And I found somebody, and they were like, "No, we can't do that. It's illegal to transport it to a place where it will die." So, that's the kind of thing that I have to do sometimes for work.
Right.
So I'm really good at, YouTube. How do I do this?
Yeah, I mean,
And
that
YouTube's
is
your
the
best
UCAN
friend.
man spirit right there.
I mean,
Research.
that has a lot to do with how I get my job done. It's no is a frowned upon word. You don't ever say no. I say it a lot more than most people because I don't really have a lot of patience for a lot of dumb stuff. But I just YouTube it because listen, if these yahoos on YouTube can do it, I can do it. Like,
Sure.
Love it.
Right.
So
You can, man.
yeah. I mean, like 2 weeks ago, I was on a North Carolina lottery job, and they were like, "Hey, we need to do a vinyl wrap on this Ducati," and my boss was like, "I don't know who we're gonna get to do this in this time frame," and I'm like, "I can do it." Like, I had no idea.
I got
how to do
YouTube,
it.
man.
And so I just like that night at home, I'm laying in bed. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And so I just start looking at YouTube, and it's like those guys. I don't know if you've ever seen any of those vinyl wrap videos.
Those guys are...
They're like, "Yo, man, I'm up here. We're gonna wrap this Audi R8. It's gonna be great, man. I'm gonna do some. I'm gonna get some knifeless tape, and we're gonna." And I'm like, "Oh, dude, if this dude can do it, I can do it." Like, sweet. And like.
You did it?
Made it happen?
It's very difficult, but I made it happen. I'm sure the pros could do it a lot faster than I can, but
Wow.
they can't fit it in the schedule. So,
Okay.
but at the house, it's like, okay, cool. Like SketchUp has been a huge thing, like 3D modeling of my house, so that I can be like, okay, how can I redesign my kitchen? Because it's a joke. Like, it's the smallest galley kitchen. It's a nice size house, but the kitchen's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's maybe 8 square feet of
So you took all
counter
the
space.
all the measurements so you could manipulate your space
Right.
and all that.
Right.
Man, yeah, SketchUp. We have not talked a whole lot about SketchUp on the show here, but
It used to be awesome and free, and now you have to buy it.
yeah,
You can use it online. But
I use the online version. It's frustrating, but it gets the job done. And
Yeah.
I've used it a decent amount. Josh, I think you said that you used it on your, what was that, like your mantle surround or something
Yeah,
like
my
that?
basement.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we should do a show on that as well, because visualizing stuff is amazing. So for listeners who don't know what SketchUp is, it's a 3D modeling program that you can use for free. Google used to own it years ago, and they actually sold it, which is weird that Google sold something, but they
yeah,
did.
well, and it's
Because
like,
they're trying to own the world.
right.
Yeah.
And so why wouldn't you own the easiest way to get into modeling? Like,
I don't know.
It used to be a no barrier situation.
I mean, they're smart, so I'm sure they had a
guess they
good
are.
reason. But SketchUp's still alive and well and doing great. So if you want to get into 3D modeling, definitely check out SketchUp.
yeah. And if you're a part of the library system, you can probably get lynda.com. They do like courses and stuff.
Totally.
Library system, usually you can get it for free instead of $15 a month.
Yeah.
Pro tip.
Well, good deal. Well, I think that's going to wrap up. Brandon, thanks so much for.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
So if you're in the Kennesaw area, me and my wife partner together, and we run a nonprofit gym.
Yeah, that's right.
If you're looking for
talking
a
about
good,
that.
affordable place to get one of those kind of workouts, like a group fitness,
Get fit.
get fit, I can't say the one word because we don't pay for the trademark, but it's metabolic conditioning.
High intensity.
It's high
Yeah.
intensity. It's,
Got it.
it's
You
awesome.
move heavy things.
Yeah, move heavy. It's great. So it's affordable.
Yeah, for those of you in the Atlanta area, so Kennesaw is a suburb of Atlanta. So Brandon's wife pretty much runs a gym.
Yeah,
I mean,
she runs the gym.
Yeah.
It's her gym.
So definitely, I guess they can just reach out to you, like on the Facebook
Yeah,
page. or
yeah,
something like
look it
that.
up.
We can link to it on
Yeah.
the episode too.
Yeah.
On the
Yeah. Oh,
Instagram
totally.
post.
We'll totally link that up for sure.
Cool.
So
Thanks, man.
good deal. Well, I think Brandon has our segment
Oh,
this
yeah.
week.
Sweet.
And so,
Headphones off real quick.
yeah, we will. We'll be right back after the break.
This episode is sponsored by 1776 United. 1776 United is a patriotic and historically inspired lifestyle brand. They make the best patriotic shirts and apparel on the market today. I personally own many of their products, and if you want to don patriotic gear without looking gaudy, check them out on Instagram, Facebook, and at 1776united.com.
All right, guys, welcome back. Brandon has the segment for us. He's actually stepped away from the mic here, getting something.
There's a ruckus going on
man,
behind me.
He's got something
Prepping.
wrapped up here in a sweatshirt.
I'm kind of scared.
Now I'm a little bit nervous.
It's about 3 feet long. It's wrapped up in a sweatshirt, and
Keep that muzzle away from me.
It's a hoodie.
I don't know what's going on here. Brandon, take it away, man.
This is like
All
show
right.
and tell.
Yeah, well, I mean, I just want to get you guys prepped for the giving Christmas season.
All right.
So I got you guys some stuff.
Are you gonna pay?
Ooh,
Are you
it's
paying it
exciting.
forward? Okay.
I'm paying it forward. I just want to get you guys, stretch you out, get you ready for the giving season. So for Dave,
Here we go.
I got you something that you've always needed. Something that you've always wanted. I got
So
you
nervous.
something that you would never get yourself.
What's that?
An REI membership.
Oh, no way.
Snap, Dave.
Wow.
Dave. Okay,
An
so
REI co-op card. I
it's the
want
gift
to.
that
I
keeps
want
on giving.
to. I want to burn this
It's okay.
right now.
It's okay. All you have to do is tell them your phone number and you can start getting those dividends.
Okay, for listeners just joining us, just in case you're just like, what in the world is going on? With why is this an inside joke? Dave has railed against REI and their incessant push.
They badger me every time. They're like, "Oh, do you want to join the co-op?" And I'm like, "No, I don't want to join the co-op. I want to buy this cup." And they're like, "Okay, well, you don't like to save money." And I'm like, "No, I don't like to save money. All right, just leave me alone."
to the extent that he even bought a hat that said something about REI co-op, and he still didn't do it. So I actually already knew that Brandon was giving that to you.
This is awesome. This is so fantastic.
It's legit because he asked for your address and your phone
Wow.
number. So it is actually legit because I texted Josh earlier today. That's why I was asking for Dave's address. And so that's
Brandon, I'm
that's
touched.
the real deal.
I appreciate it. This is awesome. This is fantastic.
So I did not sign you up for the emails.
Okay, I
'Cause
appreciate
there's
that.
Nothing I hate more than garbage emails.
Well, this is the best way that I could join it because I didn't say yes to them,
You
but
didn't
now I
cave.
can tell. Now they won't bother me anymore.
Exactly. I got you peace of mind.
Brandon.
You can go to the checkout and just be like, here's my
Be like, yeah, hey man, my buddy Brandon Funk, he hooked me up, dude. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
right.
That's good. That's good.
So Josh,
Oh, there's
so
more.
Next man up.
for you, in one of the first episodes, you talked about your neighbor who borrowed your plunger,
Yes,
and I saw this.
Jeff.
I saw this a couple days ago. Or
I be Jeff.
I be Jeff. I saw this a couple days ago at an Ace Hardware in town when I was
right.
doing some plumbing shopping.
Okay.
For a job that I was doing, and so I thought, oh, that's going to be great. And so I went back and I got it for you. This is
That's a
the
huge plumber.
this is
Or
the
plunger.
redneck.
Can I have that too?
Dude.
Okay, so
my.
we got to explain it, guys. Okay, so
He's got a shotgun plumber. It's the only
okay,
or
so
shotgun
it's a
plunger.
It's a plunger, but it's like it's shaped as a shotgun, but it's got a plunger on the end of the barrel.
It's a shotgun with a plunger on the
It's a
end.
shotgun. It's a plastic shotgun with a plunger on the end of it.
I've never seen
I'm
anything
assuming
like
That is fantastic.
you cock it.
You ready?
Yeah.
Ready?
Nice. So he's caulking it now. So I assume that does the plunging motion.
Yeah. No, it doesn't.
What does that
Oh,
say?
it
The,
No, that's
Okay.
just all a farce.
the poo is through.
That's right. So this will probably be wildly ineffective.
That is
That is
It looks
amazing.
hilarious.
That is
mean,
amazing.
that's a
You've
real
got to put it on
plunger material.
Instagram the first time you use it.
Wow. Wow.
I feel
Brandon,
like-
you're excellent. At this.
all right.
It's batting
Oh, it makes
1,000.
noise too.
Oh, that's what it.
Yes, do that again.
That's great.
That's fantastic.
This is hilarious.
All right.
Okay, we will definitely
Thank you so much.
We will
So
definitely-
thoughtful.
we'll definitely need to take a picture of
Yes.
of this stuff and
Tim, I haven't forgotten about you.
okay.
All right, so
Oh, no.
I did some research last night. Like I said, I'm a
All right.
professional Googler. That's how I'm able to do anything for my job. And so I was like, you know, what does Tim like more than anything? That's obviously Harbor Freight coupons,
Hello.
right?
Oh boy.
You love Harbor
he
Freight.
loves
listen,
Tim
listen,
is the
guys.
unofficial spokesman.
Listen, you do not go to Harbor Freight without a coupon. Okay, you just
That's
don't.
amateur hour.
But
You
you know
just
what?
don't.
You now when you go to Harbor Freight, you don't have to go without your Harbor Freight socks.
Oh, it's like the Harbor Freight socks.
Also, you got 2 pair of Harbor Freight socks
Yes.
and a Harbor Freight hat
Wow.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
and a Harbor Freight koozie.
What? Where did you find this stuff?
Well, you can only find it on one spot, and I don't want to blow the spot because, you know,
Because I've never seen it at the actual Harbor Freight.
no, you
Or I
have to
might
buy it
bought
through the employee store.
Really?
Oh.
So
How did you get access to the
Dang.
Harbor Freight employee store?
He's a Google Pro.
I'm on Google Pro,
Dude.
professional
That's
Googler.
impressive. Tim just turned 70 years old. just in that
Harbor
conversation.
Freight
Oh
socks.
man, I will wear that with pride. Dude, that's
Hat,
awesome.
socks, and a koozie.
I'm going to
amazing.
have to send you a picture of me wearing all three at the same
fantastic.
time. Well, not wearing the
What are you
koozie,
gonna do with
but-
the koozie?
Yeah, I mean,
don't want that
now
picture.
the question would be, what kind of beer do you put in a Harbor Freight koozie?
Miller Lite.
I mean, I was thinking like Natty Light.
Yeah, Natty
I
Light's
mean,
probably
yeah.
the way to go.
Yeah,
PBR.
probably.
PBR.
Yeah.
Yeah, PBR would work.
Something's got to be cheap, right?
Dude, well, thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah.
No problem. It's in the mail.
Excellent.
So
Okay.
hopefully
It's
it
on
shows
the
up.
way.
Dude,
Wow.
we
Blown away.
The perks of having a podcast.
I
we are
know.
just scoring so much
okay,
stuff.
we gotta right the ship here and get some like You Can Man merch going on.
That's true.
Because
For
we're
our
just-
So we can
guests.
give back.
Yeah.
Our game has just been weak with that.
It has
I would
been.
actually like to hear from our listeners. Shoot us a message on our Facebook group page if you guys would actually wear a You Can Man T-shirt.
Or what would you want that would
What would you
be
want?
You can man branded.
Yeah, we'll seriously do it. If enough people are like, "Yeah, I'd totally wear that," then I will totally do
We'll
it.
get some stuff to a giveaway.
I love our name and everything and our branding, but I was just thinking, would I wear a T-shirt that says "You Can"?
I would swing
don't
a
know.
You Can Man branded hammer all day long.
Yeah.
Can I offer a suggestion?
Yes.
All right. Like Mr. T on it, and it just says "You Can Man."
I like it.
Okay, I like that. I like that. I might wear that.
We'll use his likeness.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He'd be all right
We'll
with
change
it.
it by 15%, and it'll be fine.
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
Dude. All right, Brandon, thank you so much for coming on the show
great
with
job.
us.
This is the best segment I've ever been a part of.
Yeah. Get you your REI
I know.
Co-op.
co-op.
member.
I'm
member.
happy and angry at the same time.
I really
Oh,
just
that's
wanted to put the
hilarious.
sticker on the back of your car, but I was like, I don't know, I'm not well.
Oh, that's funny. Good deal. Well, guys, thanks so much for joining us once again for the UK Man podcast. Take a few minutes and share this podcast with a friend of yours that you think might enjoy listening to the show as well. Take some time to leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and check out our Facebook group page for some really, really helpful information. We will catch you guys next time.